Terry, you know my heart is in other countries sometimes, and I love Thailand. You know, I love coming to Thailand. I love coming to visit and hang out. But mate, what's happening there at the moment? Like, what is? Are we going to see a revival of tourism? Are we going to see people off the poverty line? I saw people sitting down on Beach Road in Pattaya, lining up waiting for rice. You know, those sort of pictures were pretty confronting to me, for someone who's been over there and seen that people could make a living being in the tourism trade. And when the government just shut that down for the health scare, and I call it a scare, you know, it's hard to come back from that, mate. Is there some optimism out there starting to creep back? Is there some hope for those guys?
Yeah, it's like night and day, actually. The lines are gone.
Right.
They did have a setup, a 50-50 setup, where it was an app where those in the poorer section of the economy could go and when they're buying their daily stuff at the market, they would get reimbursed 50% of what they bought by the government. But
Okay.
obviously that was extremely expensive for the government, because they were basically paying 50% of everybody's expenses for about 8 months. That is, I believe, no longer in force. That's expired as of this month. And but the thing is so much is back open now, even in limited form, that a much higher percentage of people have jobs that did not have jobs before. So even though they're not making as much money as they did before the pandemic, they're still making more money than they were making 4 months ago. So it's night and day about how much better it is here. As we were talking about off camera, though, I mean, Vietnam's getting hit really bad at the moment, as you know. So that's, I'm not sure what's happening there. Singapore is getting hit fairly bad too, but they're rich.
Most of those countries have loosened restrictions. They've just gone, you know what, we can't keep locking. Vietnam, you know, I was reading yesterday, Vietnam said there's no vaccine passport requirement to enter the country. There's no quarantining. They just want to test before you leave. So, which I think is pretty open for Vietnam, who was pretty locked down. Singapore is changing the way they do entry. You still can't go to Singapore unvaccinated, but you don't have to. I think they've changed the way to their fast lane or something. So there's definitely no quarantine. They've dropped that. Pattia's, Thailand sounds like it's changing from what I read, but like you said before, the government brings out a decree and then quickly changes it when it gets close to the date, and so everyone keeps hopping around. But mate,
don't you think though? Sorry, don't you think though that it doesn't really matter what the countries in Asia or Africa or South America do. It won't really become endemic until everybody agrees. Because I noticed something like for Thailand, for example, Thailand loosened the restrictions, but the UK and America are still advising people not to go there. So there's still going to dampen the tourism business, right?
I have no idea why the CDC in the US are saying Thailand and a heap of countries are like level 4 but you're allowed to travel to them. It's like our advice is strongly you should not, you know, go there. Mexico was a level 3, level 4 sort of thing for a while. You're still allowed to travel there, but they've just got this like, wow, it's on our number 4 list. And
especially when America's harder hit than all of those countries in the first place.
I think it's political. I'm not sure what is going on there. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense at all. I'm wondering if perhaps countries that want to be taken off the list need to go and have a meeting or something and have a handshake and have a burger together in the US. I don't know, I don't know. It doesn't make sense at all. But no, look, it hasn't made sense for the last 18 months anyway, mate. So we should stop thinking that it should make sense and go, somebody's making a decision for a reason that we're not being told. And that's it. Pretty much what's happened for the last 18 months. But man, I was going to ask you, is it time to buy real estate in Thailand? Is the market down?
No.
Okay.
And that's a cultural thing. You know, anybody that lives in Thailand knows that the Thais don't sort of float with the wind as far as changing their prices on things. They're actually fairly, I wouldn't say stubborn, but pretty steadfast in what they think something's worth, and they would rather not sell than lower their price if they believe that it's worth something. So what I've seen in a lot of real estate where somebody thinks it's worth, $20,000, they hold out for 20,000. They'd rather not sell. They will not put it down to 10 just because it's COVID. Like, they don't panic, is what I'm trying to say. They're fairly steadfast. They don't panic. They don't no panic selling. So you can get deals at the moment, especially on houses, but you're not going to get fire sale deals simply because people still know what it's worth, and they know that if they wait, the pandemic's almost over and they'll get their money anyway.
Yeah. What about Russian-owned condos?
Believe it or not, the Russians are starting to come back. The best time to buy those was a few months ago, actually. There's still some values to be had, but the problem is the reason why the Russian condos were not of interest to a lot of people in the first place is because, and for those of people that don't live in Thailand or don't know Thailand, Russian condos, when I say Russian condos, I mean the condos that are marketed primarily to Russians as certain areas away from the touristy areas, and that's the Achilles heel. And that's the Achilles heel of those places, though, is that they were kind of out of the way to begin with, and it was only Russians that were buying them because most other nationalities don't want to live there because they want to be right on the beach. They want to be in the nightlife area, whereas the Russians tended to come over here in family groups where they could be far away from all the nightlife, and they didn't care. So it was sort of a sort of an enclosed market almost for them, where they were only where they were only selling it. Like if a Russian wanted to sell their condo, it's going to be bought by another Russian, probably not by an American or an English person, because it's in a location where they don't, all the restaurants in the area are Russian. All your neighbors speak Russian, that's the main problem I see.
It becomes little Russia, right?
Right. And which is great for them, but there's not a big market for resale market unless you're selling to your countrymen. And if the ruble's hurting for you, it's hurting for your countrymen as well. So it's sort of depressed the market, I think. I mean, I've seen a lot more Russians back in Thailand in the last month or so as the restrictions get lifted. Wow. But I don't think it's. But having said that, I still see tons of them for sale. They're just, most of them they're nothing that I would want to buy, and they're not at a price that makes me go, wow.